Welcome everyone to the latest Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many developer-submitted games and demos we check out here. If you submit a game for a future piece, please get in touch. But we are starting things off with The Gardener and the Wild Vines. This is a 2D, climb 'em up in a style of kind of like the older modern retro platforming, where our key twist is that we create the platforms ourselves by basically growing these vines out. For every flower that we hit, it not only propels us up, but then it will create a path of vines to another flower. So you're essentially dynamically making your path up each one of these towers. Your goal is that you are trying to save the prince, the love of your life, from the evil court magician or wizard. And he has him trapped in a number of magical towers throughout the land. And using your shears and sheer determination, you're going to try and save the day. Now, the basic path through this game is on the easier side. If you've played any platform before, you should be well acquainted to it. But the game does feature a variety of challenges and twists, including time trials, finding hidden MacGuffins, that kind of thing. And I would say this is another really solid rainy day style game. It's not going to be too long if you're not going for 100%. And I think this is a fun enough title with kind of the motion and movement to help get it going. So if you are looking for another 2D platformer, I would definitely give this one a check. And now for something completely different, we have Unmetal. This is the game from the developer behind Epic, which was a satirical take on RPGs and D&D. Here, we basically have Metal Gear by way of Airplane. You play as Jesse Fox, who is totally not an elite commando who has been arrested for a crime he didn't commit, and he is now going to fight his way out of a military base and quite possibly save the world as we know it. The story definitely reminds me a lot of Call of Juarez, the second one, where the narrator basically defines what's happening on screen, and you'll have to make a lot of choices that will determine where the story will go, either making things easier, harder, weirder. You'll never know, and trust me, you will not be able to guess where the story goes just by watching the cutscenes or looking at the screenshots. So the gameplay itself, as I said, is definitely in the style of Metal Gear. So you'll be solving basic stealth puzzles, avoiding combat, and of course fighting bosses. My big issue that I had with this game is that the satirical nature lends itself heavily into the puzzle solving. And there are a lot of places in this game where there are instant deaths or death failures simply because you didn't know the answer to a specific solution, or just trying to figure out what the game wants you to do. And this can become increasingly frustrating to play. The final quarter of the game in particular got incredibly frustrating to me because of this. And it's one of those games where it's hard to tell if the game is just being frustrating and confusing, or if you missed some kind of clue or wink at the camera that was supposed to be the solution to it. So all in all, this is one of those games that for me, it definitely started better than it finished. But the story is great, voice acting adds a lot to it. If you don't mind some potentially frustrating areas and looking for a very challenging and very funny game to play, definitely check out Unmetal. For our next title, we have Beast Breaker. And this is an unusual combination. This is Monster Hunter by way of, Peggle. We play as a mouse who is a hunter of monsters in this world, and in order to keep cities and villagers alive, they are going to have to go out and stop them before they rampage. So the general gameplay is that you choose a weapon set before you go into battle. This determines your available moves and abilities that you see on the left-hand screen. You have stamina each turn to perform different spells, and you have a number of actions. The enemies are kind of like procedurally generated in a sense that each part has a different health point, and there are kind of sweet spots that if you attack will actually do damage or will hurt like the overall body. Your job is to do enough damage to the major points in order to destroy it. You have a time limit that you must hit or destroy certain spots by the time it goes into rampage mode. Your different weapons and abilities will give you different options in terms of how you can handle the enemies, such as being able to use arrows that require you to kind of dash before you shoot them. You can get a block that can also turn into a counter, and there's certainly a lot of depth here in that respect. As you play, you'll unlock higher challenges, which will give you more resources that can be used to unlock more parts, more gameplay, etc., etc. The big issue that I have with Beastbreaker is that it falls very much in line with the chaos of a game like Peggle, or even when we played that game of Peglin on stream, which is kind of like Peggle roguelike, that you don't have perfect control over your character. You see, when you do your dash, your character will bounce and reflect off of things much like a pool ball. So it's very easy to overshoot or undershoot, putting you into a bad spot. And if you are someone who likes very high fidelity in terms of your combat, you have complete control over your character, then this game may be a little too frustrating for you. All in all, this is one of those titles that if you're looking for something very different, I would definitely check out Beastbreaker. But if you are someone who, again, likes traditional action games and that kind of loop, this one may be a little too out there for you. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for our showcase. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. For our next game, we have Bonfire Peaks. This is a puzzle game in a similar sense to the Sokoban style. But our hook here is that we are going up to the mountains in order to burn our pass. And to do that, we are going to do an ever-escalating set of puzzles, where our key trick here is that how we grab and where we grab these crates and boxes will affect how we can move, turn, rotate, and backpedal around. So the puzzle challenge here is that you are trying to get all your actual personal belonging boxes to the bonfire that's set up in each level. Now, the puzzles themselves are built around one solution, I believe. Although I'm sure if there's any experts watching, you can certainly correct me on that one. But one thing that I really like about this game is the hub. The hub itself is made up of you climbing up the mountain, and every time you solve a puzzle, you get another box, which you can then use to move around, to place in a spot to get yourself higher, as well as find hidden puzzles as well. So you're not required to beat every single puzzle in order to see the story through to its finish. However, the big thing about this game is definitely the difficulty. This is one of those games where it's going to be hard based on your own knowledge base and your ability to solve these puzzles. So some of you will find these puzzles incredibly easy, while I'm sure a lot of you, like myself, will get stuck and may struggle in a few spots. So this is one of those games that I definitely give it a recommendation just to see if you fall into the group of people that really love it. I think the aesthetic is fantastic, and the puzzles definitely go as far as one could with the design or with these mechanics. So if you're a puzzle fan, definitely check out Bonfire Peaks. Now we have Aragami 2. This is a third-person stealth game, kind of like a continuation of the Tenchu series, with like a mix of, I guess, like Batman's like Predator mode and vision from the Arkham games. Now, the first game was a linear story as you went from mission to mission trying to save the life, I believe it was a princess. This game goes for more of not so much an open world, but a mission-based structure where you are completing tasks for a village of Aragamis as you're trying to solve and save them from this curse. So the gameplay itself is a mix of stealth and third-person action. You can kill enemies, you can knock them out, and you can also get into actual fights with them. Your special powers allow you to basically manipulate the shadows, including teleporting from shadow to shadow, and of course toying with your enemies in any way that you see fit. So the missions themselves are definitely structured around completing a specific task, kill and assassinate someone, get back to the start. You can also find money and other MacGuffins that you can use to upgrade your character back at the home base. The game also promotes a up to 3-player co-op, which sounds equally awesome and terrifying for a stealth-focused game like this. In terms of difficulty, that I saw people were arguing about this on the forums and on Steam. I found it to be on the okay side. The game definitely rewards stealth over direct combat. It has received many different updates, I believe, since we last played it, so I don't know where it sits right now. All in all, I enjoy this one, but the mission by mission structure, I think, kind of loses some of the focus that the original had with its story. If you haven't played either, I would probably check out the first one first. I felt like that one was more solid in all of its respects. This one adds in a lot more in terms of perks, upgrades, that kind of thing, where the first one was far more streamlined. But I would say that if you are a fan of stealth games, then definitely at least check out one of the 2 Aragamis. For the last game of our showcase, this is Pawnbarian. This is a chess building roguelike, I guess we could describe it as, where you use the powers of chess to kill and destroy your opponents. How this works is that your quote-unquote deck is made up of different chess pieces. Each chess piece will allow you to move and attack by way of the actual chess piece. So knights let you move in an L shape, rooks in the cardinal directions, that kind of thing. But the hook of this game is that not only you have to deal with enemies who will have their own different attack patterns and how you have to move and dodge them, but you can also upgrade your cards to give them different abilities when you play them, such as affecting how you attack, do you get armor or protection, and so on and so forth. So the game definitely has a very unique take on the chess-based design. And at the end of the day, though, this is still a chess game. So if you're hoping to really break the rules in any way, shape, or form like that, it doesn't go that far. But I think it's a very ingenious idea. And how it combines roguelike elements to give it that little extra sense of variance and replayability, as opposed to just being, straight puzzle-based gameplay. So this will be one that if you are looking for a different take on roguelike gameplay and kind of avoiding the action roguelike or just pure turn-based, definitely check out Pawnbarian. I definitely feel like this falls in the hidden gem category from the independent space. So with that said, we're going to wrap up the showcase here. Thank you for tuning in. As always, do the liking, subscribing, and commenting. You'll find links to all the games down below. Be sure to check out our Discord and Patreon and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games.